Ladies and gentlemen, we have a first. In the long history these two franchises have been battling each other, for the first time in science fiction history, the fate of the next Star Wars movie rests upon whether this Star Trek movie is good or not. So, is it good? Is it suck? Let's find out. Alright, so Star Trek Into Darkness. Now that he's captain of the Enterprise, James T. Kirk, played once again by Chris Pine, is with his crew and requests to go after a Starfleet fugitive by the name of John Harrison after he attacked two key Starfleet locations. Kirk, Mr. Spock, and the rest of the Enterprise embark on an adventure to find this man that leads into some dark places and some unexpected events. Like I say, there was a lot of excitement for this movie. The trailers made it appear that, no one is safe, and given the fact that this is an alternate timeline, anything could happen. Anyone could die, and it wouldn't screw up anything in the original continuity. I felt like the action scenes were much better this time and were really exciting. So exciting that they actually got me tense a lot of the time. Since the crew had been already established in the last movie, there's better interaction between the crew members that really works, and reminded me when I watched Wrath of Khan and one episode of the original series. And Kirk is a much better fighter in this movie than he was in the last movie. Benedict Cumberbatch makes a good addition to this film as John Harrison. He nails every scene he's in, and as a villain he is much better than Nero was in the last movie, though there's a part near the end that kind of gets confusing with him and his motivations, but he was still a scarier villain than Nero. It's just I felt his motivation wasn't as strong as Nero's, and Nero's wasn't. I don't know, the two villains in this series seem to have odd motivations, but Nero seemed to make sense. But as a villain, Benedict Cumberbatch did a better job than Eric Bana did. I also love how Scotty gets more time in this movie and is able to do more, since in the last movie he really wasn't introduced until the end of the second act. I'm glad that Simon Pegg got to do more in this movie. Now you can probably tell I'm pointing out the things that I thought this movie did better than the last movie, but I like the last movie better than this one. One thing, I was disappointed that I didn't feel that sense of dread that the trailers promised. As I mentioned, the trailers gave me the impression that John Harrison is pure evil and that anyone could die and not come back. I didn't really sense that dread throughout this movie until near the end. It's not bad, but it was a little disappointing. The ending was, I won't say anything about the ending. All I'll say, it was sort of a cop-out in a way. I didn't think it was bad, it just felt anticlimactic by comparison of the first movie, and I know it's probably not fair to compare the two, but this is a sequel to the last movie, so you kind of have to. Not bad, but anticlimactic ending. Also, near the end of this movie, it does some things that some Trekkies might, I don't know. You know what, this part I actually can't talk about without spoiling things. And given the fact that J.J. Abrams is very hush-hush about his movies, I'm going to make a separate video that's basically spoiler talk, where I go into the spoilers of Star Trek Into Darkness, so I can really express more. Because there's also one negative thing in this movie that took me out of the movie for a while, but wasn't enough to ruin it, and I can't mention this without getting into spoilers, so I'll post a spoiler talk review later this weekend. Anyway, despite the negatives, and for having probably one of the dumbest movie titles I've ever heard, Star Trek Into Darkness is a fun, enjoyable Trek movie. Continuing to break the tradition that Star Trek Nemesis and the 2009 Star Trek set of odd numbers being bad and even numbers being good. This movie is worth seeing in your lifetime. It's not as good as the 2009 Star Trek and wasn't as powerful emotionally as I was hoping it to be, but it's still pretty good, and if you can, see it in IMAX, because there are scenes in this movie that are made for the IMAX format, and goddamn Santa Cruz for not having an IMAX theater, because I'm stuck here until middle of June, and the closest IMAX theater is an hour away in San Jose, and by the time I get back to LA, Star Trek Into Darkness is probably going to be out of the IMAX theaters. So I'm going to have to find a way to go to San Jose just to see this movie in IMAX, or at the worst case scenario, hope that J.J. Abrams allows the aspect ratio on the Blu-ray to change whenever it presents the IMAX scene. So I hope I can see it in IMAX. If not, I hope the Blu-ray translates those scenes. So that's my review for Star Trek Into Darkness. This has been The Cinemas with Mr. Robinson. Leave a comment, subscribe, check out my old channel, AlexG8462, and I will see you guys later. Bye.